A cop gets shot in the leg because of a road rage incident. It's a hell of a story. Put the picture up full mask. Buckle up your seatbelt, no pun intended. According to police, an off-duty NYPD cop was shot in the leg during a road rage feud clash with two brothers in Queens Wednesday afternoon. Bystander video captured the shocking moment. The gunshot went off as the three men grappled on the ground. You see it there. It was not immediately clear whether someone fired the weapon or if it went off accidentally. The wild footage then shows one brother taking off after the shot rang out, leaving the other straddling the officer in the middle of the street. And you see it there. According to NYPD Chief of Detectives, Jeffrey Madry, and police sources, the cop was driving a green Kia along Queens Boulevard around 12:50 p.m. when he pulled up to a white minivan that was blocking the roadway. The chief of D's said the officer was able to get around the minivan and continued on his way until both drivers met up again and exchanged words. I wonder who was the aggressor. At which point, according to the chief, the driver's brother ran up behind the cop's car and smashed the rear window. Madry told reporters, quote, the off-duty officer exited his vehicle, identified himself as a police officer, and drew his firearm on the two males and announced that the male was under arrest for breaking his window. In the bystander video, the officer can be heard saying, quote, get on the ground, bro, I'm a police officer, end quote, as he holds the brothers at gunpoint. The off-duty cop can then be heard on the phone calling for help as one of the men taunts him, quote, wave the gun at me. And the other repeats, shoot me, shoot the effing gun, okay, end quote. You thought you was tough, one of the brothers yells. I'm tougher than you. You tried to run over me. That's why I hit that ish. The chief, Madry, said the cop reholstered his weapon and tried to hold one of the suspects, waiting for uniformed officers to arrive. When the two got into a struggle, and during the tussle, the other brother came up from behind, putting the cop in a chokehold as both brothers started fighting him. At one point, they pushed him up on the car, and according to the chief, he tried to unholster his weapon and take the weapon from him. One of the brothers can be heard warning the other to leave him. He's a cop, end quote. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do ish, the other yells. You're not going to threaten me with a gun. The cop grabbed his gun while trying to retain the weapon. The chief said, then all three went down to the ground with the brothers on top of our officer continuing to punch him and kick him, at which point a round is discharged from the officer's weapon, the chief said. The other brother, continued to fight with the officer until another round was discharged. Moments later, uniformed cops arrive as one of the men can be heard crying, he shot my brother. Both brothers, 32-year-old Edwin and 27-year-old Sean Rivera, were taken into custody. They were charged. Their charges are pending, according to the police. One was arrested at the scene. The other was busted at a local hospital. He showed up with a gun wound to his hand. The officer assigned to Brooklyn's 81st precinct suffered a gunshot wound to the left thigh. He was taken to the Elmhurst Hospital Center to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Cops and sources say, quote, I had an opportunity to visit our officer, Madry said. He's in good spirits. You know, who was the aggressor does matter. You're talking about a plainclothes cop. Individuals have been opining on this, obviously, to say, well, once he identified himself as a police officer, everything should have simply stopped. Okay, here's what is interesting. At no point did the brothers want to actually do to the cop what we have seen cops do to brothers. That's it. I just want to submit that. I want to submit that to you. We have seen officers murder people on camera. Cheerfully do so. This was a very serious situation. And if there's criminal malfeasance, obviously they will be held accountable, no doubt about it. But what if it was the other way around? You had two cops doing something like this to a citizen. Would the narrative be the same? Of course not. That is the part that makes the community suspicious and, yes, at times even outraged. All right, Jordan, thoughts here?
I was reading about this to prepare for this segment, and it just seems very fishy, and I don't feel comfortable taking the police at their word here. I mean, how did we go just from just a standard road rage incident to, multiple people being shot?
Yeah.
Just seems like a lot of gaps there. And the only two people that were arrested were the two unaffiliated guys, the two brothers. It takes two to tango, right? I mean, how is this cop the one who, we really don't know the full story around the incident on the road, but we do know that at some point it escalated to a window and a car being broken. I'd like to know more. I'd like to hear what these two brothers have to say, what led to that point, because I do find it fishy that it's just this off-duty cop is just this innocent victim who also had a gun on him. People were shot, and the only two people who were arrested were these two brothers. There just seems like something led to this, and I would assume it's the cop being aggressive on the road because he feels entitled because he is a cop. That is probably what led them to react with such anger that they got out of the car and broke that window. I'm not saying that that's justified, but I think that would inform why this led to an altercation, including a fight on the road and a gun being discharged.
I found it quite interesting that the chief of detectives, when providing the defense for this officer, left out what actually happened in the exchange. So he goes detail, then he says, and then words were exchanged. Wait a minute. See, that part is important, Chief, because that would indicate who was the aggressor, who made threats perhaps, who should have felt in danger. All right, I'm sure more will come.